Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, transforming the way people think and work so their organizations can thrive.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Ed Kless, and with me today is Brian Kelly. Brian is the managing partner at Cost Management Services-iRecruit and has over 25 years of experience in the human resource software and tax credit industry. CMS developed iRecruit for Sage HRMS customers to meet the need to automate and streamline their recruiting, applicant tracking, and electronic onboarding operations. Brian has a BS in finance from the University of Central Connecticut. He is a member of the Society for Human Resource Management, and in his spare time, he plays and coaches ice hockey and is an avid golfer and boater. Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, Brian Kelly.
Thank you, Ed. It's great to be here today.
Well, first off, Brian, why do you do what you do?
Well, I love what I do, first of all. I absolutely love it. And basically, it's probably stemming from being in the industry for 30 years. So it's one of those things, the more you learn, the more you need to know type of thing. So chasing that rabbit hole down is basically what I'd love to do, and basically keep growing and listening and expanding our products.
And tell me about your perspective on recruiting in a remote world. You may have heard this thing of the pandemic we've had, which has drastically changed the way we work. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, what's crazy about that is we're actually well positioned for it because we're a SaaS-based recruiting tool. We can work from anywhere. So people that were used to work in the office are now remotely out of their homes like we are today. But we can be proficient and we can keep going and keep doing our job like we need to do. So iRecruit is just perfectly positioned for it.
And what about the challenges that people are facing with regard to onboarding people in that remote situation? I mean, because that's hard just from a cultural standpoint to capture that. How can you help with that?
Well, the first thing, you have to be complete, right? So you can't just do a portion of the onboarding process. You have to do the whole thing. You got to do, the I-9 records, all the employment forms, their contracts, their liabilities per se, their sign off on the job offer. And so when I look at it as we have to be a complete solution to handle all those components. And basically iRecruit has that capability.
And how do you what's your advice just from a business owner perspective on bringing on remote employees? Like just for if you're hiring for your company for CMS, what are your thoughts on bringing on those remote folks?
That's a great question, Ed. And basically it's trust, right? You got to trust the people that you're hiring. That's what you're doing. Bring them on board so they can provide a service to you from that perspective, right? So to me, it comes down to trusting the employees that you hire, but yet giving them the tools to succeed. And I think we do a pretty good job of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of folks that, I don't understand like why you brought someone on if you didn't trust them in the first place.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
And watching over a lot of folks. The other thing before we started recording, you mentioned is this thing called WOTC, which is a work opportunity tax credit. What's going on with that? Help me with that.
So we've been doing WOTC tax credits or processing of WOTC tax credits for 25 years now. We started in 1997, Ed. So we've been doing this for a little while, as well as iRecruit for that matter. But WOTC is a federal tax credit that employers can obtain for hiring certain classes of employees. So people that might be on SNAP, which is food stamps, by the way, if you brought them back into the workforce, you can receive a tax credit for hiring that person up to $2,400. So you start doing the math, I have 100 hires per year, and the average tax credit is $2,400, and we know the success rate is between 10 and 15%. Well, that's $36,000 in tax credit savings. So an employer that wants to buy maybe some Sage software just found $36,000 that helps them pay for that. So the program itself is great from a number of reasons, really. One, we're getting people back into the workforce. Number two, we're saving the company money for bringing these people on. And matter of fact, there's some other aspects of it too, like the Vow to Hire Heroes program. So if we bring the military and bring the veterans back in who have been displaced, we get a tax credit for helping these people as well. So the WOTC is just a great tool for a business to basically bring entry-level folks into the workforce and get federal tax credits for them.
And you had some numbers on that, didn't you? Like how many folks would potentially qualify for that now?
That's crazy. The number is crazy. There's actually 38 million people in the United States that are on SNAP. That's 12% of our employment force. So again, it's a large number, which means that there's people out there that, again, if you hire them, the employer can take a tax credit on it. So it's a big number.
Yeah, sounds it. So, Brian, we have an exit question that we ask all of our guests, and that is, who is a hero of yours and why are they a hero?
Wow, what a crazy question. So, first of all, when I think of a superhero, is yes, a superhero or a hero?
A hero or superhero, you can go with anything you want.
Well, I immediately jumped to Superman, and Robin and Batman and stuff like that. But actually, you made me think of other things that are probably more important than that, and that is, the people that are helping our folks in nursing homes, the LPNs, the RNs, the doctors. My parents recently passed away, prior to COVID 3 years ago, but I thought these people were not necessarily heroes; they were basically angels, and it really made an impact on me. So I would say, from that perspective. The folks in these nursing homes and hospitals that are taking care of all these different patients that they don't know, which is pretty awesome.
And lastly, Brian, how can somebody contact you?
The best way to contact me is my email, which is bkelly, BKELOY, at iRecruit-software.com.
All right. Brian Kelly, Managing Partner at Cost Management Services-iRecruit. Thanks so much for being a guest on the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate
it. Review and subscribe by searching your podcast player of choice for Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.